Dawn comes quietly, as if afraid to wake the earth. Fog spreads over the fields, thick, milky, dissolving the silhouettes of birch trees and the remains of burned houses. The air smells of dampness and ash. Dewdrops fall from leaves, ringing against metal. Somewhere in the distance, a crow cries. But beneath this silence lives something else. Underground, beneath the grass, under the layer of war-torn earth, lie mines. Small iron seeds of death sown by human hands. They wait, patiently, silently. They know no mercy and choose no victims. A child, a soldier, an old man returning to his village. They simply wait. And there are those who walk toward them, not for bravado, not for glory, but because someone must. Because without them, the road remains a deadly trap. They are called Sappers, people who stake their own lives every morning so that others may take one more step forward. But few know what it's like to be a sapper in 1944. This is the year of turning tide. The Red Army advances, liberating Belarus, Ukraine, the Baltics. This is the year of hope. But ahead of the infantry, ahead of the tanks, ahead of everyone, walk the sappers. With a probe in hand, with a mine detector on their shoulder, with a prayer in their heart. They are the first to enter liberated villages. They are the last to leave positions during retreat, the alpha and omega of any army movement. Staff Sergeant Matvey Sokolov wakes before dawn. Sleep has long become shallow. Too many explosions in his memory, too many faces of those who didn't return. He washes with icy water from his canteen, puts on his tunic, checks his equipment. On his belt, a sapper's bag, probe, wire cutters, knife, coil of wire, and a handkerchief embroidered by his mother, a talisman, a connection to home, to that life that existed before the war. Matvey knows he might not return today. This thought comes every morning, like breathing, but he doesn't let it settle inside. Instead, he thinks of those who will follow, of the infantrymen who will march down the cleared road, of the children who will someday play in these fields, unaware of what once lay here. It helps, a little, not much. A sapper's work is a slow dance with death. One wrong step, one moment of inattention, and that's it. A sapper makes a mistake only once. This is not a soldier's joke. It is the terrible, literal truth. A curse and a blessing simultaneously. The knowledge that you have no right to error. At all. Ever. Matvey walks first. Always first. A commander's duty. Behind him, Junior Sergeant Grishin, a guy from Voronezh, a mechanic before the war. Behind Grishin, Private Petrov, 19 years old, 3 months at the front after short-term courses. They move in single file, step in step. Each of Matvey's steps, a verdict or a pardon. He leads lives behind him, a burden heavier than any backpack. In his hands, the VIM-203 mine detector, a metal loop on a wooden handle, a Soviet engineering marvel. When the loop approaches metal, a crackle in the headphones. Quiet but piercing. This is the signal. Maybe a mine, maybe a shell fragment, maybe a nail from a destroyed house. But every signal requires checking. Every one, a stop, a heart freezing, a deep breath. A crackle in the headphones. Matvey stops, raises his hand. Everyone freezes. The silence becomes absolute. Even the birds fall silent. He kneels, sets aside the mine detector, takes out the probe, a sharpened steel rod with a wooden handle. the simplest tool, indispensable. Inserts it into the ground at an angle, slowly, carefully, centimeter by centimeter. The earth is damp after rain, yields reluctantly. The probe goes deeper. 5 centimeters, 10, 15. Something hard. His fingers feel the vibration, as if reading Braille. A rounded shape, smooth surface, size about 20 centimeters. It's a mine. He recognizes it. A PMD-6 anti-personnel mine. Wooden body, metal spring, charge of TNT, enough to tear off a leg. Or kill. Devious. The mine detector barely registers it, too little metal. But the probe finds it, if you know how. Now the most dangerous part. Extraction. Matvey pushes the earth aside with his hands. Only with his hands. A shovel can't be used, might trigger the detonator. The earth is cold, wet, sticks under his nails. He works like an archaeologist uncovering an ancient burial. Only here, death is buried, ready to awaken from a careless movement. There it is. A wooden box the size of a book, darkened by moisture. A pressure lid on top. Beneath it, a spring and detonator. 4 kilograms of pressure and explosion. 4 kilograms, the weight of a child's foot, the weight of a cat. Almost nothing. Matvey slips the wire cutters under the lid, millimeter by millimeter. Feels for the spring, sets them, squeezes. A click. Metal severed. Silence. Disarmed. Alive. Alive once more. He exhales. He hadn't noticed he was holding his breath. Takes out a white marker flag, sticks it nearby. A sign for those who follow. It was dangerous here. Now it's safe. But it's not always that simple. The Germans have gotten cleverer. They learned, just like the Soviet Sappers. Now they place mines one on another. Remove the top one, the bottom one detonates. Hide anti-personnel traps under anti-tank mines. Install tripwires in houses, under corpses, even under children's toys. Any object can be a death trap, any movement, the last. This is a war not just of soldiers, but of engineers. A chess game with death. By noon, the squad has disarmed 23 mines, 23 deaths that won't happen, 23 families somewhere in the rear who won't receive death notifications. But there's still a kilometer of road ahead, 1,000 steps, hundreds of chances to err. Dozens, maybe hundreds of mines waiting in the earth. Hands are tired, back aches, eyes sting from strain. But they can't stop. The offensive is tomorrow. Tomorrow, tanks, trucks, infantry columns will move down this road. Fear, the sapper's constant companion. It doesn't disappear with experience. On the contrary, the more you know, the sharper you understand what could go wrong. The more you've seen comrades blow up, the clearer you realize your own mortality. Fear lives in your chest as a cold lump, in your stomach as nausea, in your fingertips as a tremor. But a sapper learns to live with it, breathe through it, work despite it. Junior Sergeant Grishin once said, after a hard day, "If you stop being afraid, you stop existing." Fear makes you attentive. Fear slows your movements. Fear makes you check twice, 3 times, until you're absolutely sure. Fear keeps you alive. A truth earned through suffering and paid for with lives. A sapper who loses his fear doesn't live long. Because fear is not weakness, it's a survival tool. The body's warning of mortal danger. There's a strange meditativeness to a sapper's work. Step by step, signal by signal, mine by mine. The world narrows to the size of the square meter of earth before you. Nothing exists except the probe in your hand, the sound in your headphones, the texture of earth under your fingers. The war, home, past, future don't exist. There is only here and now. Only this moment, this mine, this movement. Time flows differently. A minute stretches like an hour when you're trying to discern what's underground. A mine, a rock, a root, and an hour flies like an instant when you're working in the flow, in the rhythm, finding mine after mine, disarming them with practiced movements, marking the safe passage with white flags. They flutter in the wind like tiny victory flags over an invisible enemy. But there's another side. Sappers don't just clear mines, they lay them too. When troops retreat, they need to delay the enemy, slow the advance. Sappers stay last, planting mines on roads, bridges, in houses. Create minefields, set booby traps with timers. And later, when the army advances again, the same sappers go first, clearing what their comrades or the enemy once laid. Private Petrov, the youngest, once asked, "Sarge, aren't you afraid when you walk first?" Matvey was silent for a long time, looking into the fire. Then he replied, "I am afraid, Petka. Every time, every step. But that's normal. The scary thing isn't when you're afraid. The scary thing is when you stop. It means you're already a dead man walking." Petrov thought about it. Then why do this? You could be in infantry, artillery. Matvey smiled faintly. "It's scary everywhere in war, Petka. But the sapper knows. Lives depend on him. Not abstractly, but specifically. This road here, that our boys will march down tomorrow. If I don't clear it, they'll blow up, all of them, or many. My fault, my personal fault. Understand? That's why I go, because someone has to. And since I know how, that means me." In these words lies the whole philosophy of a sapper. Not heroism, not a desire for glory, just a sense of duty. The understanding that there is work that needs doing, and you know how to do it. So you do it, despite the fear, despite the danger, despite the fatigue. Because you see the faces of those who will follow, because you know your work saves lives, quietly, unnoticed, but it saves. In the evening, with the section cleared, Matvey sits by the fire. His hands tremble, the accumulated tension finding release. He stares into the fire, into the dancing flames, thinks of comrades who are no more. Sergeant Volkov, blown up on a booby-trapped mine last month. Private Leonov didn't notice a tripwire, a thin wire across the path. Corporal Kuznetsov. Matvey cuts himself off. Can't dive too deep into memory. He takes out a crumpled photograph. Mother, father, younger sister Katya. A summer '39 photo, before the war, when the world was normal. Are they alive? The village was occupied, no letters for 2 years. Maybe they're alive, maybe waiting. Maybe he'll return after the war and see them again. Maybe. He thinks of who he was 3 years ago. A regular guy from a village near Moscow. A mechanic, dreamed of going to college. The war crossed out his plans. Drafted in '41, ended up in Sapper school almost by chance. Someone saw in his documents, mechanic, decided he had an aptitude for technical work. And here he is, staff sergeant, commander of a sapper squad, a man on whom lives depend. Volkov, Leonov, Kuznetsov, they were good sappers, experienced, careful. But even the most experienced can make a mistake. Even the most careful miss something. That's the cruelty of the profession. Experience doesn't guarantee survival. It only increases the odds. A little, not much. Turns the probability of death from 80% to 60 or 40, but never to 0. Never. But Matvey doesn't regret it, or rather, there was no choice. He knows. Without sappers, the army is blind. Without sappers, every road is a death trap. Without sappers, every offensive costs 3 times as many lives. Sometimes he thinks about what comes after. If there is an after. If he survives. Will he return home? Will his mother recognize him? Can he live a normal life after walking the edge every day? Can he forget the sound of an explosion that takes a comrade, the scream, the smell of scorched earth? He doesn't know. Nobody knows. War changes you forever, especially those who looked it in the eye every day, those who held death in their hands, those who know how thin the line is between life and oblivion, how one wrong move, one moment of inattention decides everything, forever, irrevocably. But while the war continues, Matvey will get up every morning, take his probe and mine detector, walk first, clearing the path for others, because it's his choice, because someone must, because behind him, comrades whose lives depend on his attentiveness. And in this, there is a special honor, not loud, not noticeable, the quiet honor of a man who does what must be done, despite the fear, despite the danger, despite the fact that no one will see, praise, or award him. A sapper's honor, in every step, in every disarmed mine, in every saved life he will never know about. In the Sapper company there was a tradition. When someone died, the comrades gathered by the fire in the evening. Didn't hold a wake, no time for that at the front, just sat in silence, stared into the fire. Each thought their own thoughts, about the one who was gone, about how they themselves might not return tomorrow, about why all this. And they found the answer in the silence, in the crackle of embers, in the warm light of the flames. The answer was simple. They are needed. Their work is needed. Without them, it's impossible, simply impossible. And that gave strength, helped them get up tomorrow, take the probe, move forward, again and again, until the war's end, or until their own paths end, whichever comes first. Sappers aren't heroes in the usual sense. They don't rise to attack with a hurrah cry. They don't perform feats written about in newspapers. They are the laborers of war, those who do the invisible, thankless, deadly dangerous work so others may live, so others may advance, so others may win. Their names rarely appear in reports. Their photos are rarely printed in newspapers. But it's thanks to them that the army moves forward. Thanks to them that villages and cities are liberated. Thanks to them that the war will someday end. Maybe soon. Maybe very soon. Dawn comes again. Fog again spreads over the fields. Somewhere in the distance a crow cries. A new day begins. And again Matvey takes his probe, puts on the mine detector headphones, steps onto the road. Step by step. Signal by signal. Life by life. The world holds its breath. Underfoot, earth that could explode. Or not explode if everything is done right, if he's attentive, if he doesn't rush. The wind stirs the white flags on the road cleared yesterday. They look like flowers grown from ashes, like signs of hope amid destruction, like tiny victories over the invisible enemy hiding in the earth. Matvey takes another step, another one, and another, slowly, carefully, importantly, because each of his steps is another life he might be saving, another family that won't receive a death notification, The work continues, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, until the war ends, or until his own path ends. But while he lives, he works. While he can hold the probe, he moves forward. While his heart beats, he does what he must, because he sees meaning, because he knows the price, because he understands his work is not just work, it is service. Somewhere ahead, beyond the horizon, the war's end awaits. Victory, returning home, peaceful life. But that's still far away. Before that, thousands of kilometers of roads to clear, thousands of fields to check, tens of thousands of minds to disarm. And Matvey knows, not all will live to see victory. Not all will return home. Maybe even he won't return. But that doesn't matter. What matters is what he does now, here, on this road, with this probe in his hands, with these comrades behind him. What matters is that every disarmed mine is a saved life. What matters is that every cleared meter of road is another step toward victory. What matters is that he is needed, that his work is needed, that without him, it's impossible. And while that's true, he will walk, step by step. The sun rises higher. The fog begins to dissipate. The contours of the world emerge clearer. Trees, destroyed houses, the road stretching into the distance. Somewhere beyond the front line, distant explosions are heard, artillery preparing the offensive. And here, on this section of road, 3 sappers continue their slow, meticulous work, checking, probing, disarming, marking with flags, doing what no one else can, or wants to. Too dangerous. But they do it, because they know how, because they must, because they chose to, or were chosen, doesn't matter anymore. What matters is they are here, that they do their work, honestly, carefully, professionally, not for fame, not for awards, for those who will follow, for those who will return home, for those who will someday live on this land, unaware of the mines that once lay here. By evening, the section is cleared. A kilometer of road is free of mines. Tomorrow, troops will march down it, and the day after, perhaps, residents will start returning. Old men, women, children. They will walk home to their villages and never know that here, under their feet, death once lay, that someone risked their life to remove it. They will never know Matvey Sokolov's name, never know the faces of Grishin and Petrov. And that's right. Sappers don't work for recognition. They work so others may live peacefully, safely, without thinking about what might explode under their feet. Their reward is silence. Silence instead of explosion. Life instead of death. A step that didn't become the last. That's all they need. That's all worth risking for. Matvey packs his equipment. Tomorrow, a new section, a new road, new mines, and it will all start again. The longest journey isn't measured in kilometers. It's the distance between 2 steps when a mine might lie beneath your feet. But the sapper takes that step, again and again. Because courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the ability to move forward despite it. Somewhere in the distance, on the liberated road, a truck carrying soldiers drives. They laugh, smoke, sing a song. Don't think about what's under the wheels, earth cleared by sappers. They don't know the names. Don't know how many times someone could have died checking this road. But they are alive and driving onward to victory. And that is the only thing that matters. And somewhere in the fog, at the edge of a new field, A lone figure with a probe in hand takes the first step. Slow, careful, important. The wind stirs the tunic's hem, flutters the white flags behind. Ahead, silence. Underfoot, earth. Unknown, unchecked, perhaps deadly. But he walks, because he must, because someone must. And this is his choice. Not every act of heroism is loud. Most often, heroism sounds like the silence after a disarmed explosion. Like footsteps on a road that could have been the last, but wasn't. Thanks to those whose names are rarely spoken aloud, but thanks to whom we are still here.